Give a big round of applause for this panel. It's called our closing panel, and we are improvising from now on. We have Veery Maxwell from California.
That's right.
Marin, you live in Marin.
I do. Marin.
North of San Francisco.
Yes.
We have Ines Kolmsee from Matterwave Ventures. You live in Munich.
Yes.
And we have Janneke Bik from Shift Invest.
Yes.
I visited you many, many years ago.
Many years ago. Finally,
preparing
I'm here.
an Ecosummit Amsterdam. And we have Marine Glon of Supernova Invest. And they are all investors, so it's a VC-only panel. And we start by giving you each a 1-minute elevator pitch opportunity. You tell us about your fund, your investment strategy, and maybe in the end, why you came to Ecosummit.
Great. Thanks for having me. I am a partner at Galvanize Climate Solutions and the venture fund at Galvanize. We invest in near-term decarbonization solutions, so things that we think will be important between now and 2030 in terms of decarbonization. We typically invest in companies that are early commercial to kind of fully growth stage companies. So there's been a lot of great things.
One moment, sorry. I can hear some scratch. Better. Okay, sorry.
No? Fine. So it's been great to hear from all the companies here today. You know, outside of the venture fund itself at Galvanize, the other big effort that we've made is bringing together kind of a multi-stakeholder approach and providing more than just capital to our portfolio companies. So we also have a portfolio service team that provides policy support, talent, impact measurement, marketing, as well as a science and tech team. So that's Galvanize in a nutshell. And in terms of what brought me to Ecosummit, well, I heard from many people that it was an amazing conference. I also have a portfolio company in Berlin, so I was here for a board meeting. That company is called Alchemy, does process optimization for low carbon cement and concrete.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a coincidence, but not a coincidence that you already ventured outside of the US and you discovered German and European investment opportunities and probably a few more during the last days, right?
I sure hope so.
Ines, tell us about Matterwave.
Yes, Matterwave is an early stage deep industrial tech company, so we're not solely a climate tech investor, but I believe that there is no such thing as an investment that's not a climate investment when you look at industrial tech. And we usually do between seed and Series A. And what sets us apart as a team is that we all have a technical background. So we have 3 physicists on the team, and the rest of us are basically engineers. So we really like to understand the technology that we're investing in, and we do not shy away from doing lead investor, which gives us a competitive advantage, I realized.
And you have a couple of quite famous partners in your fund, Christian Reitberger, because he also used to be at Wellington Partners, like Jörg Überla, the founder, and Bart Markus, right? He also has been at Wellington Partners. And you are a new fund, right? You came together in order to do it again with a new brand?
Yes and no. I'm new. Yeah, so I'm the new kid on the block. I've been with the fund now for a year. Before that, I was in industry, process and energy industry, which is my background. But my colleagues, my partner colleagues, have been in the industry for a very long time. So Christian, I think 22 years now. But they have invested together already another fund, which was the Industrial Tech Fund 1, which was still under the B2V brand, but they have rebranded now for the new fund.
Yeah, cool. Janneke, Shift Invest.
Yes, Shift Invest. Am I? Yes, there I am. We're an early stage impact investor based in the Netherlands. We're already an impact investor since 2009. This is our third fund that we invest from. It's a 110 million fund. We do from very early stage proof of concept, convertible loans until Series A tickets, 1 to 3 million initial tickets, but we can go up to 10 to 15 million. We do this in the sectors energy, mobility, food and agri, and industry, so it's quite broad, both hardware and software, and we like to leverage our local network of industry partners and entrepreneurs.
Cool. And you are for the first time at Ecosummit,
Yes.
but last year we had a few colleagues already joining.
Yes, correct.
Did they enjoy it? And they recommended to go back to Ecosummit.
Exactly, that's why I'm here now.
Cool. And Marine Glon of Supernova Invest.
Yeah, hello. So I'm an investment director at Supernova Invest. We are a French investment firm specialized on deep tech investment that is really breakthrough innovation protected by patents or coming out from labs. We invest in different sectors. I'm specialized on energy and environment, but we are also interested in medical technologies, medtech, microelectronic, and industry at a large sense, that is new materials, nanomaterials, sensors. So every time it's a bit difficult, we are there. And so we go from a seed stage to late stage. We have different funds for different maturity. And I work more precisely on the seed stage. We invest like 1.5 million at the first round. And on the energy sector, we look at everything from new type of materials for batteries, new innovative batteries, hydrogen, biomass, chemistry, green chemistry.
And you have a couple of portfolio companies here at the Ecosummit, right?
Yeah, I encouraged 2 of my portfolio companies to come with me. So PowerUp, who pitched yesterday, and Sylphen, who uses hydrogen as a way of storage for autonomous building.
And where are you located?
I'm based in Grenoble, where, Supernova has 2 big sponsors, CEA, that is a center for energy atomic in France, a big research center with 15,000 researchers, not
15,000.
Not only on atomic, but all fields from microelectronics to healthcare. And so the centers are regarding hydrogen and biomass, and batteries are in Grenoble. So
And did you source a couple of portfolio companies from these corporate sponsors or the R&D center, CEA?
Yeah, it was one of the aim of my visit here, to get linked with other VCs and to scan for other opportunities, or either present our portfolio that is going to raise again, and then identify companies from all across Europe.
And I want to ask you about the funding climate. Not only we talk about climate here, but about funding climate. Some people said or are saying it is quite difficult for startups to raise money. We are in difficult times. Valuations are going down. What is, from your point of view, the experience maybe in the US and maybe what you have seen also in Europe? I want one opinion and war story, like ideally from each one of you.
Well, I can start. I'd say from a U.S. standpoint, certainly we are seeing that too. I'd say for companies that have some substantial revenue, it is different from the very early stage companies. I think, as public market comps have come way down, there's just kind of natural valuation compression that we see in those later stage companies. For early stage companies, I feel like it's a much more of kind of a volatile environment, where some early stage companies we see that are in, particularly sectors that are very well supported by the Inflation Reduction Act or other kind of policy environment support, are still finding fundraising relatively easy. But I'd say we certainly see in particularly capital intensive categories where frankly, investors like us are concerned about rising interest rate environment and what the fundraising environment will look like over the next several years. I would say some of those companies are finding it quite hard to raise. We've been fortunate because we are a relatively new fund. None of our portfolio companies have had to come out and raise yet in this environment. So I'd say we mostly see it from the perspective of looking at new investments. We're certainly seeing a lot of interesting structure on deals that we, have not seen in the last couple of years, much more reminiscent of things that we saw in...
What do you mean by that interesting structure?
I would say substantial liquidation preferences, participating preferred structures. There's ratchets getting put into rounds. Just, I would say features that optimize for downside protection, which was not the norm in the last several years, have definitely kind of come back in.
Trying to reduce the risk in venture capital. We
Yes.
call it in Germany Risikokapital, risk capital, right? What are your experiences on the fundraising front? What do you see?
It's definitely, we're currently looking at a trough in fund availability for startups and for funds as well. But I think in a way it's a healthy one. Yeah, I think there was a lot of hype in 2020 and 2021 and to a certain extent 2022. And now it's coming back to more normal levels also of valuations, which will be much healthier going forward. So I see that as the right market correction. It's not nice when you're in a situation to have to fundraise right now, but in general, I think it's a very healthy sign for the industry. So I think it's rather positive.
Janneke, what do you tell us?
Well, I think I concur with you both, but I'll also see that in energy, it's still very much a hype and trending. See very, tech VCs moving to climate tech. I'm not even sure that I know what they mean by it, but it's become popular. And although there's more investors and there should be more money, I do see that we have more time to bring forward a proper proposal to companies, which I think is also very healthy because it's a very, intimate relationship that you start with a company, and you should take your time to build the relationship and to see if it will last. So I'm quite happy with a bit more time that we have.
Okay. Yeah, so you have more time for due diligence, for getting to know the founders, for being sure that they are going to ideally be a winner in the future.
Exactly.
Yeah, Marine, what do you experience out there?
In our view on deep tech innovation, we suffer less than digital and pure tech value proposition. And there is also the will to work on industry in Europe, so that helps and counterbalance the overall spirit that was going down. And the Ukrainian war with rising energy prices, I think overall it helped lots of the startups that were present here to develop their value proposition with rising energy prices. So what we've seen is that on climate issues and green tech innovation, it's getting quite exciting actually.
And during the last 2 days, Marine, did you meet and listen to, but rather meet startups that are very on top in your deal flow now here during the last 2 days?
I'm an early stage investor, so usually the one who were here were not doing their first fundraising, but I've noticed from my colleagues very interesting startups. And yes, I think I've been in the ecosystem for a while, and I think the last 3 years I've really felt something rising and a conscious arriving, maybe a bit late, sorry, but it gives hope for the next coming years.
Janneke, did you meet good startups here for you?
Well, I'm certainly very much energized by all the innovations that we saw. We are also quite early stage investor, and so some of the companies that we've seen still are within our scope. So there's certainly some that are on my radar to follow up with, and there's also some that could be very interesting partners for our current portfolio. So we've had enough interesting conversations.
And Ines,
Yeah.
are you inspired? Do you have some hot leads here?
I have to say, microphone?
Is she on?
No? Yeah, no.
Okay,
sorry.
now.
I have to say, I met a number of really interesting companies that I'm definitely going to follow up with. I was impressed with the quality of the companies that are here, and the seriousness and the quality of the pitches as well. Yeah? I think it's amazing and this is a shout out to the startups that are still here, what you can achieve in 5 minutes. I'm always amazed with that, and it was really, really done nicely here today. And no, definitely a lot of companies that I'm going to follow up with. Yep.
And you, do you think you will deploy any capitals quite soon in any of the startups here?
Yes, there were several actually very interesting companies. I will say a couple of the ones that I was most interested in based on their pitches are not fundraising right now, but certainly ones to keep in touch with over the coming months. And yeah, I similarly was very impressed with the quality of the pitches. And it's funny how we all invest at different stages here, because I'd say kind of the opposite of a lot of the companies here relatively early in their commercial journeys, which is just kind of coming into scope for us. So yeah, there were several interesting things, and we are very keen to continue to do more in Europe because of the support for certainly industrial decarb, as well as just the exciting kind of solar and storage attach rates, EV deployment. There's a lot of ways that Europe is ahead of the US right now.
Cool. Let's start by giving one piece of advice to the founders on what makes a good fundraising pitch tick you, what is really interesting you, what are you looking for, and what kind of recommendation do you give a founder that is maybe listening to us today in the audience or then quite soon on YouTube? Marine.
Yeah, I would focus the advice on really being very precise on the value proposition, because it's what we retain from a pitch. Sometimes it's not always very clear that type of battery, how is it different from another offer, or this type of software, how is it different? So really try to explain how you are different, because lots of subjects are turning around energy management and whatever. So that would be really focus on that, and then on the milestones already achieved, so that to make your pitch attractive.
Janneke.
Yeah, we always need to see the impact that you intend to make very specific and measurable and substantiated. So if you consider us as investor, know that that is one of the most important things we look at.
And are startups good to measure and to assess and forecast the impact, or do you need to teach them or help them?
Well, support them, and we do hands-on help them with their impact strategy and make it measurable, monitor it, bring it into your daily operations. That is one of the things that we spend a lot of attention to. And what we notice is that, all of you, most of you are impact driven, and you kind of get a tunnel vision of, this is impact, I don't need to explain it, but actually it gets more and more important to do. There's coming a new EU regulation to do so, and you will be more eligible for funding if you make it very specific and measurable.
Yeah. Ines, you are new to the VC game, but you already have recommendations, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a lot of companies in the last year. So one point is to be well prepared for the meetings. That means who is on the other side. What I have to say sometimes annoys me a bit is when a company is sending the CFO that gives us a general pitch in a technical company, Yeah, to me, that's almost a waste of time, because I want to have a better idea of the technology behind it, whether it's interesting for us, whether it's enough deep tech for us.
Do you like talking to the CTOs?
I prefer that, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, we have a couple of CTOs, the Chief Technology Officers, doing the pitches. Yeah, and a good CTO also knows how to explain technology, right? Not
Exactly.
only to make
Yeah.
it, but also how to explain it.
And differentiation.
Yeah, sure.
Veery.
Yeah, for us, it's really unit economics and seeing that you've really thought through your market. So TAM, unit economics, we're pretty straightforward as a somewhat later stage investor.
And how good are the startups that you are talking to in measuring and calculating the unit economics, understanding how you really can improve them and where to increase the margin a little bit?
It's hard. I mean, I'm saying that like it's an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do, especially when you're still scaling your business and figuring out the costs out of your business. But I'd say I think most companies, once they've had a few iterations of commercial cycles, either are pretty articulate about their unit economics or they're not doing very well, because I think it becomes quite hard to raise money if you're selling a product and you don't understand the value proposition.
It's actually a term that I didn't hear so often during the last 2 days, to be honest, unit economics. Did you hear it many times on stage in a 5-minute pitch?
Nope.
On stage, not at all, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
The pitches that I listened to, I didn't hear it. I don't know.
Yeah. We are a little bit behind here in Europe. Sometimes we are more ahead. Okay, we come to an end, and I think this is really valuable. I'm very happy that you joined us. Now you know these wonderful investors, and you have time to talk to them during the party now. We actually have another party. I think Marine has to go to the airport, but you stay for a big round of applause.